So this is the Texas POE Tester Gen 2. I gave this a 2-star review on Amazon. Now I give it the 2 stars. It earns 2 stars because of what it is. The functionality is great. What it does is great. The concept is great. But the execution is extremely poor. First off, let's take a look at the display. So I'm currently running 48 volts into the device on POE power, and as you can see, the font, it's like a 1-point font. These upper 2 lines will tell you whether you have a passive or active POE, what the standard is, but unless you have the vision of a teenager, forget it. You're not going to read that. And if you're over 40, your reading glasses aren't going to do it either. You need to get out the magnifying glass or your shop glasses. So they lose a star for that. And so their other problem is the labeling. You can see I added my own label here where it says in and powered device. It's obvious that in is on the top, out is on the bottom, but I was labeling it anyway, so I figure I might as well add those. The label that I did have to add was here, simulate on off. Why would they not put a label on there? Where do they put that label? Down here. There it is. There's your labeling for the switch that's over here. Now naturally you're going to be looking at the front of the unit, looking at the display, wires coming out of the top, wires coming out of the bottom, so you flip it over, and now it's upside down. Now you got your wires getting tangled up to see what, huh? Okay. And as far as the in and the out labels that I put on, well, those are also on the bottom. See? Power in, power out. So, okay, you guys lose a star for that. This is why you get a 2-star review on Amazon. And so the other problem is their choice of using a fluorescent display. These fluorescent displays wear out. It is a wearing part. It's a tube, just like the tubes that we used to have in TVs and radios. It's the exact same thing. It's got an anode, a cathode, a grid, a heater element, and they wear. Every time you use it, it wears. You won't notice it from day to day, but your display will get dimmer and dimmer over time until it can't be read anymore. A more appropriate choice would have been an LCD display. Could have gone with LED. Probably LCD would be the best choice. Now you might argue that that's also a wearing part, but the wear is so insignificant over how long they last in comparison to these. So this was really a poor choice also. Probably a choice made by marketing and sales. Now let's look at the display on another cable analyzer. And you can see how at least you can read these values. It's not microprint. Now granted, it is a mobile device, but even similar devices that do have their own display certainly have them in a larger screen where you can read them. Unfortunately, these devices don't measure the power and current on the actual POE line that the Texas POE does. But the screen is something that you can read. So I've used this Texas POE for almost a year now, on ladders, out in the field doing long runs, and it's a very handy device. Unfortunately, it really is a pain to use. Now, I don't know what's happening over there at Texas POE, but my best guess, being that I'm an engineer myself and I've worked for manufacturers, is that probably sales, marketing, and typically the CEOs, the people in upper management get involved, and the engineers are asked to cut corners and make things cheap. My advice to Texas POE is to get rid of your management team, particularly the ones that are higher up, the top of the food chain people, and give your engineers free rein to design a good quality product. I really believe that they have top-notch engineers who could design something like this, but they were asked instead to cut corners and make this as cheap as they possibly could. The thing that bothers me about this is the price that they charge for this. I paid $77 for mine with tax, as compared to, say, a product like this at a lower price. So let's take a look at that for a second. Now you might say we're comparing apples to oranges, but we're still talking about getting what you pay for. So this thing is entirely made of plastic. It looks like it's just, well, there's screws. Okay, so it has screws. This power supply is a metal construction. It's got chrome screws. It's got a regulated constant voltage supply or a constant current supply. It's got a watt meter, a USB port for charging your phone or whatever. I don't know, I haven't opened this up, but it's pretty obvious that there's probably just one board in here, and these probably come off the assembly line like soda crackers. When you look at something like this, on the other hand, it's obviously that you're certainly getting a lot more as far as the engineering and the production value and the hardware. So POE Texas can get away with this because they pretty much have a corner on the market for this product. There doesn't seem to be anything else like it out there, but I think it's really pretty much overpriced for what you get, and it certainly has its flaws in design. You know, another thing is, if you've ever looked at these fluorescent display tubes outside in the sun, you can't see them. I mean, they might as well be turned off. You don't see anything in the sunlight with these things. So that's really, you know, not a good choice. This switch, let's look at this again. You would think if you're looking at this label, they're saying, okay, so let's see, if I'm looking at the switch, the on position is to the left. Actually, the on position is to the right. So I guess they want you to flip this up this way and read it, in which case it's upside down, but it's showing you that the switch goes to the right. If you turn it right side up, then it's incorrect. Oh boy. So they tout on their website about this new Gen 2 is even smaller than the last one. You know what, guys? We don't care about it being small. Give me a piece of equipment I can hold in my hand with an LCD screen large enough to read that I can see outside in the sun. You know? I mean, this is really a nice piece of engineering, but it's a really bad piece of construction, production, manufacturing. That part is really bad. The engineering is great. I love this thing. It is really informative. When I'm outside on a ladder and I got to see what my power draw is, if I'm at mode A or mode B on my POE, the engineering is really good on this. But boy, the production value of this is really bad. Now, if Texas POE wants to reinvent this product and build it with a large display, an LCD display, and label it properly, I would be happy to do a review on that device. But until they do, this review is going to stay online.